I'll Be Seeing You by Stacey Adams. I met my future husband in a darkened old movie theater when I was only 12 years old. A beautiful, stately red brick building in North Tonawanda, the Riviera Theater had already seen its heyday. It was quickly becoming a ghost of its former glorious self by the time I was in attendance. But in 1926, the Twin Cities Riviera, as it was called back then, opened to much fanfare as a curious crowd dressed to the nines surrendered their dollar and entered the magnificent building to see the silent films Upstage and the Mona Lisa, along with a newsreel and a short comedy. The patrons were treated to beautiful mosaic tiled floors, an exquisitely carved ornate ceiling, and meticulously painted murals on the walls. They oohed and awed at the splendor in this new grand building. In the following years, during the Great Depression, as other businesses suffered, people flocked to the Riviera as a welcome escape from their troubles. Watching extravagant Busby Berkeley movies on the screen took them out of reality. Inside the theater, they found a different world where life's worries do not exist. Through the theater's many years, that feeling never changed. In the 1960s, I used to go to the Riv on Saturdays with a bunch of neighborhood kids. We'd get dropped off by our parents and we're the theater's problem for the afternoon. Easy babysitting for our overworked mothers. Under the massive marquee hanging over the sidewalk, lit up even in daylight, we'd enter through huge, heavy wooden doors with big brass handles which tested our strength as we pulled them open. The ticket booth was right there, an older, white-haired woman inside, eerily, sedately calm, slowly taking my coins while the line of antsy children stretched out the door. I'd barely have time to look at my ticket before it would be snatched out of my hand by the silent, angry-looking man, breath smelling like cigarettes, who'd rip it in half, giving me a stub as I sneaked past in a hurry to get inside. Moving through the theater, I'd have to peel my feet up with each step, as they felt suctioned to the floor from years of sugary drinks spilled. It was an elegant place, but the sticky floor betrayed that classiness. I perused the aisles, scanning the metal seats, covered in red velvet cushions, seeking a prime viewing spot in the dank, dusty room. I didn't want to be in firing range of the balcony where the kids hurled projectile-shaped good and plenties at unsuspecting victims. For lightweight kids like me, the seats, with their heavy, tight springs, threatened to fold us in half as we valiantly struggled to push the bottom down. Wiggling and bouncing in anticipation, with my knees up in my face as the seat betrayed me, looking around anxiously at all the kids, I'd wait for the movie to start. When the lights finally dimmed, I could see the beam of flickering light coming from the projection booth to the screen, oddly mesmerizing in its own way, with dust particles swirling inside, exposing the lack of cleanliness in the facility. The sound of the ancient projector could be heard, a whirling, clicking, comforting noise that added to the whole experience. As the movie started, kids would yell, laugh too loudly, and let loose. The movie secondary to being away from prying parental eyes, giving them freedom to cause trouble. The manager would walk the aisles, whispering loudly to be quiet, sit down, and behave, while shining his bright flashlight in kids' eyes as he patrolled the area. But it never made much difference. The noise level remained obtrusive through any movie. I remember huddling into the cushy red velvet seats, hiding my eyes when a scary monster would show up, oozing out of a lagoon or jumping out of a dark corner in a haunted mansion. The seats smelled musty and old, kind of like Grandma's house, showing their age but making me feel safe, held tightly in their arms. I can picture Buster Keaton, eyes wide, running around frantically in his pork pie hat, to the quickly patterned music created by the mighty Wurlitzer organ, the crowning jewel of the theater. The brassy deep sound of the massive musical instrument, made in a factory right down the road, adding life to the production. The sounds of piccolos, horns, drums, and violins coming out of the long metal pipes in the organ chambers lining the walls, resonating in the air, surrounding you with loud, vibrant music as a silent, flickering black and white movie aired on the screen. Coaxed by my friends and not wanting to be left behind, my first foray into the balcony, where the big kids sat, was an eye-opening experience. The atmosphere was dark and secretive. It was like being in a tight cave, the ceiling so close you could touch it, The sound hushed, not loud, a completely different vibe than I had been used to downstairs. Beach Blanket Bingo was playing, the best of the beach movies in my opinion. I swooned over Frankie Avalon as he sang to Annette on the beach, as kids around me kissed and fumbled with clothing, tentatively exploring each other in the semi-privacy of the crowded theater. Too young to understand the decadence going on around me, I kept my naive eyes on Frankie, more interested in the movie than anyone else seemed to be. While I could envy Annette on screen as she was held close in Frankie's arms, I wasn't ready for Real Boys yet. I distinctly remember seeing Chitty Chitty Bang Bang at the Riv, sitting next to a boy who, unbeknownst to me, I would exchange vows with many years later. Our mothers were friends, and having a night out together, even with their kids in tow, was a special occasion. Sitting next to this cute, blonde, smiling boy made me nervous and self-conscious. I tried not to look his way. I was finally drawn into the wacky movie, only to be brought back to reality by his infectious laugh as we both giggled at the silly antics of the flying car. It was hard to imagine this childlike boy when 13 years later we started dating as young adults. Both of us changed a bit by life, just like the Riv, aging slowly, our youthful selves just a fond memory.